Hello Remoters, Mr. Del Pazzo here with another drawing video. Today we're going to draw probably one of the most recognizable cartoon characters ever in the history of cartooning. Dun, dun, dun. Mickey Mouse, of course, it's Mickey Mouse. We are going to draw Mickey Mouse's head today. So you want to draw lightly. There's a lot of, it kind of looks simple, but there's a lot of little parts. And here's the problem with drawing something recognizable like Mickey Mouse, right? If there's something a little bit off, we're going to know it, right? It doesn't look right. So we're going to draw nice and lightly, and we're going to try to make it look a little bit like Mickey Mouse anyway. So we're going to start out with a nice big circle. And I'm going to draw another couple circles for his ears. And then a few little curved lines. The nose is kind of like a big hot dog. And the eyes are ovals. The nose is an oval. I'm going to draw really lightly. And we're going to see if we can put something together that kind of looks like this guy. The most famous mouse ever. You're going to need a piece of paper, a pencil, and an eraser. It doesn't really matter which way you turn your paper because our Mickey head is pretty much the same size width as it is height. So if your paper's horizontal, if your paper's vertical, it's not really going to matter. You can turn it whatever way you want. I drew a square piece of paper on my board. Now, if you want, depending on what size your paper is, you might have a big piece of drawing paper, you might have just an 8.5 by 11 piece of copy paper from your printer. Whatever size your paper is, if you can find a tracer, right? Maybe you want to trace a cup. Maybe you want to trace a jar. If you want to start out with a nice perfect circle, you'll have to find a circle that fits your piece of paper. So with my piece of paper, my circle is going to be about that big. So I would say your circle would be a little bit bigger than half of your paper. So you wouldn't want to draw a circle this big on my piece of paper, and I wouldn't want to draw it this big because I wouldn't be able to fit everything. So my circle's going to go from about here to there. That's going to be about how big my circle's going to be. And you'll notice it's not right in the middle because Mickey's got these two big ears that we have to fit on there. So I'm going to take my circle, and instead of putting it in the middle, I'm just going to slide it a weeny bit to the left. So even if you are using a tracer and you're tracing it, you still want to draw lightly. Just because you're tracing something doesn't mean you press down hard, because we're going to be erasing part of our circle when we put other parts on Mickey's head. So when you trace, your pencil should just be barely dragging across the paper. And if you're using a round tracer, obviously you need to be touching the tracer. Otherwise you're not using it. I can't find a tracer big enough for mine, so I'm going to have to draw my own circle. So I'm going to dry and draw a nice big round circle. How is it? I always look in the iPad to see how my shapes are, because I'm so close to the board, it's hard to see. So if I turn around and I look at my circle, that's why sometimes I'm not looking at the camera, I'm looking at the iPad. Looking at the iPad to see how my shapes are. That's a pretty good circle. I gotta tell you what, I'm keeping it. We might as well do the ears since we're in the circle mood. I'm gonna put one ear right up here. Not up in the middle. It's not on the side. It's diagonal. It's kind of going toward the corner of my paper, sort of, kind of. Now, obviously, this is a smaller circle. And it's going to be attached to my big circle head. It's looking like Mickey already. My next ear is going to be just a little bit down. They're not going to touch, but they're really not that far apart. So I'm going to draw another ear. Another circle right next to that one. Most of the circle is outside of the head, but there is a little bit behind it. We're touching, you know, from here to here, I'm touching my head, and from there to there. So they are touching quite a bit. They're not just barely hanging on his head. Now, to make things easier, if you want to do what I did, and you want to just print out a little, or just, if you have your iPad right next to you, you could just bring up a picture of Mickey's head, and you can kind of see where we're going. It's because that's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of looking at this picture, and I'm trying to draw it the best I can. So it might help if you have a little picture next to you. And if not, you can just look at mine, and we'll do it together. We'll do it together. Okay, so now I want to make, you can see that Mickey has, part of his face is black, part of his face is like a peachy color. So you can see this little part, he got like a little point on his head. We call that a widow's peak. And it kind of curves around and then goes into the middle of the face and then curves back around. Of course, the mouth goes there and the eyes go over there. So part of his head is black to go along with the ears. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right up here. There's the middle of my circle. I'm just going to go a little bit left, which is in the opposite direction of my ears. And what I'm going to do is just kind of go down a little bit to a point. And then I'm going to come up around. You can see that I'm really close to the top of the head. I'm not quite touching it, but I'm really close. And then I'm going to come down. And I'm going to sort of be, I would say, right about in the middle. If I look at my picture of Mickey, this line's going to curve down and go right about in the middle of the circle. That's pretty close to the middle. Top, bottom, middle, side, side, middle. So down, up, around, and then it's slightly, which means a little. It's going to curve just a little bit. Pretty much to the center of my circle. That's where I'm going to stop. Now, I'm going to go from here, and I'm going to go up around and make another curve. And I'm going to curve around and just kind of meet my circle. I'm not going straight into it, not crashing into it. I'm going to curve around, and you'll notice that I'm just, where they touch, where my lines touch my circle, is a little bit below that bottom ear, just so you kind of have an idea. It's a little below that bottom ear. Down, around, middle, circle, curve up, around, and just touch the circle a little bit below that ear. Okay? Now, right about here, I'm going to make just a little dot. Of course, I'll make it bigger. I don't want you to make yours really big. I'm just making it because my iPad is quite a ways away from my board, and I want to at least be able to see it. But you can just go with your pencil, a speck. That's where the corner of my mouth is going to be. That, right there. That's where the corner of my mouth is going to be, right where he's had that little smile. Okay? And that's important. Now I'm going to make his nose. So what I'm going to do is, here's my point. I'm going to slide over about halfway between my point and my circle. Right about where my finger is. And that's where I'm going to start his nose. Right about there. Start his nose right about there. So now my nose is going to go a little bit outside. I'm calling it his nose. That's incorrect. I should be calling it his snout. Right? A mouse has a snout that goes out, and then his nose is on the end. So the word I should be using is snout. So I'm going to make his snout. His snout's going to go out further than the circle. So it's going to be up, outside. So it's almost like I'm making an oval. So I went up, whoop, around, not much outside the circle, but I'm outside the circle. And then, see that dot? I'm going to go down a little and then go up. It's like a nice little smile. Up, around, outside the circle, back in, and a nice little smile right to my dot. Bam. Shazam. Okay. Now I'm going to erase this line right here. If my snout is over the face, I would not be able to see it. So I need to erase. This marker doesn't erase very easily. Yeah, that makes a little bit more. It's starting to look like Mickey Mouse. It's starting to. It's starting to. And now his actual nose is kind of like an oval, but the bottom of it is like a little bit flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start kind of like right in here, and I'm going to make an oval right. So you'll notice that the bottom is a little flat, and then I went up, around, outside the snout, and then back in. You'll notice that my nose is very close to my circle. See how close they are? There's my nose, and my circle's right there. Not my snout, I'm talking about my circle. Look how close they are. Right? And that's just what they did in the picture, so I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay. So now I'm going to erase this line from my snout that's inside my nose. Can't see through my nose. It's not transparent. So I can't see through it, so I got to get rid of it. Look at my iPad. Well, I don't know. My nose looks a little bit smaller than the picture. I'm going to leave it, but you could make your nose. You can see my nose is probably a little bit too small. You can see how their nose comes up a little bit more. See how mine is a little smaller? So if yours is a little bigger, you're probably closer to the picture than I am. Okay? Now I'm going to come down and work on the mouth a little bit, because right now we just kind of have like a smile. But Mickey's mouth is open. Most of the pictures, Mickey's mouth is open. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start right on my dot. I'm going to start at my dot. And I'm going to finish right about here. So there's my circle. Here's my snout. If you go in your snout a little bit, just make a little mark right there. So I'm inside the circle, but not much. Not much. So I'm going to start out skinny. And I'm going to get wide at the bottom. I'm pretty much touching the bottom of my circle. That's pretty much where my mouth is going to go down to. And then I'm going to swoop up and touch my little line. So I went from my dot to my line. Skinny, skinny. See how skinny it is at the beginning? And then it swoops way down, touch your circle, and then back up. Boom. Just like that. Kind of like a banana, kind of, sort of. With a pointy end to your banana. So skinny, 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 wide, and then it gets a little skinnier, but this side is much wider than the beginning. That's for sure. That is for sure. Inside the mouth, we've got the classic Mickey Mouse tongue, real easy cartoon tongue. You simply start inside the mouth and make a curved line, and then another curved line that touches out. It's kind of like two little mountains. Bump, bump. We've got our nice little Mickey Mouse red tongue. Now we have a little bit of a lip under his mouth, a little bit of a lip. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start just a little bit inside my circle, okay? Just a little bit inside my circle, and I'm going to make a line, and I'm going to try to make the same thickness all the way around. See how I start? I'm following this line that we just made. That's the line that we just made. So I'm going to follow that line as closely as I can all the way up to where it ends. See right there? Now it's a little confusing because I'm not following the circle. I'm following this line that we just made. So then I start inside here and go down and follow it all the way to there. This line right here, okay, we don't need that line anymore. So we can erase. Now what I just erased was the circle, the very first circle that we made. Okay? That was the very first circle we made. I just erased a little bit of my circle right there. Now you'll notice I have a line going through there. I need to erase that. That's part of my circle too. I don't need that. And I've got another one right here. Once you erase the parts of the circle, your original circle, then it makes a little bit more sense, right? Then you can tell. But it is a little confusing at first. Now it's not Mickey Mouse without his eyes, right? So his eyes are just big ovals. They're kind of thin ovals actually. So my oval is going to go, see this curve right here? That curve is kind of like curving around the oval. So my eye is going to go right about from there to there. So the bottom of my eye is halfway between his snout and this point, a little bit higher, and the top is going to be, you get a little bit of room there. So I'm going to make a nice big oval right here. Nice big oval, pretty much right in the center of this whole little area right here. A little extra line there. And then inside that, of course, is his pupil. The pupil is like a weeny bit. I think I made mine too small. There we go. That makes it a little bit. I'm looking at my picture. And the pupil in the picture is a little bit bigger than mine. Now my other eye is going to be sitting right on top of this snout right here, okay? It's a little shorter. I can't see the bottom of it. Right? It's a little smaller. The bottom is hidden behind the eye. I'm sorry, behind the snout, not the eye. And then I'm going to have a pupil right over here on this one. Now, if you want, I know you're just using pencil right now, but if you want, you can leave a little reflection. To be honest with you, I've never left a reflection, so we're going to see how it looks. Right? I will do a little experimentation, and if we don't like it, we can always color it in. You're definitely going to want to trace this with a marker later before you color it in, because Mickey always has like a black outline around him. So let me look in my iPad. Okay, that looks okay. I think this pupil could be a little bit bigger maybe. I think it looks okay with the reflection. Usually there's a reflection on the nose. A circle up at the top. Again, if you don't like the reflection, you can always, I don't want to waste too much time coloring it in, I'll just do a fast coloring job. You can always color it in if you like the reflection. Oh yeah, that looks good. That looks good. Now the only thing we have left is you have a little smile line right here. Let me get rid of my dot. Don't need my dot. It just goes. Ta-da! Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse. My head looks a little bit wide over here. See if that looks any better on my iPad. It looks okay. It looks like Mickey Mouse, sort of, kind of, sort of. Now, when you color it in, color with colored pencils, crayons, markers, whatever you want. We have a few things that are black, of course. Our pupils, our nose, the inside of the mouth. I'm not going to color in the whole thing, but inside the mouth. And of course, our little point. All of this is black. All the way to that point. All the way down to that point. And of course, both of our ears. It'll look much better when you color yours in. The tongue is red. Nice bright red. And all of his skin, right, the lip down here, all of this around here, his snout, all around the eyes, the inside of the head, except for the inside of the eyes. The reflections stay white and the inside of the eyes stay white. All the other parts of the face will be like a peachy color. So the only thing that's left that's white are the inside of the eyes, and for us, our reflections. Everything else is black, peach, and the tongue is red. And you drew your first Mickey Mouse. Congratulations. The most recognizable cartoon character on the planet Earth, I think that is safe to say. Nice job, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you send me a picture of it, okay, in your platform, whether it be Seesaw or Teams, and I promise I will get back to you. Okay. Draw it the first week, outline it, and then the second week, you will color it in. If you want to do a background, you can. Maybe you want to draw the Disney castle back there, or one of his other friends, or whatever you want to do. Or you could just have a big, giant, floating Mickey head. Turn it into a balloon or something. Put a string on the bottom of it. First week, draw it, color, or outline it. Second week, color it in. And then we'll do another video together. Until then, I will see you later, my remoters. Goodbye. I miss you.